Now out in cinemas is Masters of the Universe, the new live-action adaptation of the hit 1980s cartoon. Directed by Travis Knight, who in my opinion directed the best Transformers movie, Bumblebee, from 2018. For Masters, he was given a huge budget of around $200 million, with British actor Nicholas Galitzine as Prince Adam aka He-Man and Jared Leto as Skeletor. There had been many attempts to bring He-Man back to the big screen, with many directors attached over the past 2 decades, with John Woo, David Goyer, Mick G and many others making the list of potential candidates. Things never got off the ground, with many different directions taken to bring He-Man back for a new generation. The 1987 movie, which upset some of the fans back in the day due to being very different to the cartoon, was hamstrung by a low budget, as He-Man and his crew spend the majority of their time running around on Earth at night, with little time spent on Eternia. But it did develop a strong cult following over the years, thanks to Frank Langella's incredible performance as Skeletor and Bill Conti's epic score. It would be Amazon MGM Studios that would finally get He-Man off the ground, and into production, casting Nicholas Galitzine as He-Man in May of 2024, and the other roles were filled out by Camila Mendes as Teela, Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms, Alison Brie as Evil Lyn, and box office poison Jared Leto as Skeletor. Filming commenced in February of 2025 in London, and they wrapped in June. The early reviews so far have been mixed, but some have pointed out despite some issues it does provide a lot of entertainment, with Empire awarding it 3 out of 5, saying, "A delightfully silly film for a perfect stupid franchise. It could have had a few sharper lines and more narrative drive, but this should still win over a new generation of He fans." IGN awarded it 8 out of 10, saying, "Masters of the Universe is so much funnier than I expected. Jared Leto's Skeletor gives a delightfully weird and cartoonish energy to every scene he's in. It's a film that appreciates the source material, silly names and all, and proves the best way to add to a 50-year-old franchise that's about toys as much as anything else is not to take it too seriously." The Guardian, in their usual dismissive way, awarded it 2 out of 5 stars, saying, "It often feels like the film's 4 writers are deliberately working against each other, as if each new draft was made somehow worse than the last. It makes for an extremely awkward and entirely unfulfilling viewing experience, but a mildly fascinating one in parts. To watch a world being built for a franchise we'll most likely never return to, with early tracking suggesting this will be one of the summer's biggest flops." For the film's story, we are introduced to a young Prince Adam who is struggling to fit in with the other kids and failing to impress his father. The kingdom is suddenly attacked by Skeletor and his army. His mother, with the help of the sorceress, send Adam and the Sword of Power to Earth in efforts to hide the sword from Skeletor. Jumping 15 years later, we find Adam working in human resources and has been struggling to locate the sword after losing it on his trip to Earth. Receiving a tip-off, he finds it in a comic book shop. Once he secures it, it sends a signal to Eternia. Teela arrives along with Beastman. After escaping from Beastman, Teela and Adam head to Eternia. Adam discovers the kingdom is left in ruins and is ruled over by Skeletor. In order to reclaim his family legacy and save the world, Adam must embrace who he is truly meant to be, the most powerful man in the universe. As a kid, I was obsessed with He-Man. From like 3 to 5 years old, I was a huge fan of Masters of the Universe and Thomas the Tank Engine. I had a wide spectrum of interests. Born in 1982, He-Man was very much part of my childhood. I had the toys, comics, bed sheets and even clothes, with He-Man's face slapped on it. Heck, I even enjoyed the New Adventures of He-Man that was broadcast during Christmas of 1990, though I know most fans don't like it, but I was 8 years old, so shut up. The 1987 live-action film with Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella was constantly played in the house on VHS. I was of an age that I didn't care it was missing Battle Cat Orko, and Prince Adam didn't turn into He-Man. He was just He-Man from the get-go. The design of the movie was very different to the cartoon, but I liked what they did with it, and it was clearly inspired by Star Wars, with even the advertising proclaiming it was the Star Wars of the 80s, and I like Star Wars, so I loved the movie. But I think like many of us during our youth, we moved on from He-Man to other cartoon shows like Visionaries, Transformers, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Centurions, Mask, Braystar, and of course Ninja Turtles, which would dominate the late 80s and into the early 90s. But I always had a soft spot for Masters of the Universe, and did return to the cartoon in the early 2000s when they released select episodes on DVD with fan audio commentaries, which were very funny. I ended up watching the episodes with the commentaries on while me and my friends got a bit stoned. He-Man would get rebooted over the years with new cartoons, and more recently Kevin Smith's take on He-Man for Netflix, which divided some of the fan base. Despite the mixed reception to the cartoons, The toys still retained a strong following, with the classic figures being re-released over the years, with many older fans with disposable cash more than happy to start a new collection, to relive their childhoods, or build upon their existing ones. So when it comes to the new movie, does it do justice to the cartoon in adapting it to the big screen? Yes, I think it does so very well in parts. It embraces the silliness of it, the charm, and over-the-top nature of the show. There has been debates amongst me and my friends, and even discourse online about who this film is aimed at. How many kids know of He-Man? It's hard to tell. I don't think he's part of pop culture at the moment with that age group, so I'm guessing it's aimed at people of my age, men and women in their 40s and above. As the movie doesn't take itself very seriously and throws in a lot of gags that do work in areas and sometimes don't, I'm guessing it's going to get a mixed reception from those who want a serious take on He-Man and others who are ready to embrace the campiness of the show. Now, the film is not perfect. I do have some issues with it. Firstly, I think it's too long, some tightening up or the editing would have improved the pacing in parts. And the humour doesn't always stick the landing. With Adam's roommate on Earth, they try to push the comedy, but it falls flat every time he is on screen. The voice of Adam's cat Cringer is completely miscast, the voice doesn't fit at all. The early scenes set on Earth as Teela comes to Adam's aid are a bit unremarkable and doesn't offer much new in terms of action. You've seen it all before, but once it gets to Eternia, then the fun kicks in. The production and costume design is superb. The world really works. There are moments where the cinematography is stunning, especially in Snake Mountain. The colours just pop off the screen. It doesn't go the route of dialing back the colours to make it dark and gritty like a lot of superhero films over the years. It fully embraces the pop visuals of the cartoon. Nicholas Galitzine as He-Man does a very good job. I hadn't seen any of his previous performances, but he certainly looks the part of He-Man and spends more time as Adam, who is a bit clumsy and goofy. It's similar to the Clark Kent / Superman act, that once Adam becomes He-Man, he has the confidence and strength to fight back. Jared Leto, who has been on a run of box office flops, and his name has been barely attached to the marketing of this movie for obvious reasons, turns in a fantastic performance as Skeletor. It's funny and menacing, it's theatrical and campy in places, and he channels similar energy to Frank Langella with his take on a Skeletor. The other supporting roles are well cast, and everyone gets enough screen time. Fisto and Ram Man get their roles fleshed out enough, so most of the classic lineup of the show and toy line get to have some fun, and there are some nice nods to the 1987 film with a cameo from Dolph Lundgren. The score to Masters of the Universe is composed by Daniel Pemberton, who had recently done a fantastic job on Project Hail Mary. Daniel embraces the cheese and 80s sound with the help of Brian May of Queen, capturing the magic of Flash Gordon and Highlander. Daniel does make use of the classic He-Man theme, but you have to wait to the very end to hear it. The rest of the score doesn't offer much variety outside of the Eternia theme that utilises Brian May. You find the score repeating itself quite a bit, and I don't remember hearing a memorable theme for Skeletor. The score in parts does sound great, but I must say, it doesn't have the epic execution of Bill Conti's work for the 1987 film that totally ripped off Star Wars and Superman, and doesn't even attempt to make use of the cartoon main theme, and does its own thing and successfully does it. But with Daniel Pemberton's efforts, I was honestly expecting more from him, considering his recent strong output. The end credits feature a new song by The Darkness. I had listened to it a few weeks ago when it was first published, and it did nothing for me and sounded a bit messy, which was a shame, as they are the perfect fit for the direction they were going with the score. Overall, the soundtrack is good, but lacks variety with a few solid highs and some average offerings with the rest of the music. If you enjoyed movies like Thor Ragnarok and the recent Dungeons & Dragons, then you will have a lot of fun with this. It strikes a similar tone with the performances and humour, despite the film being a bit too long and perhaps overstuffed with gags that do sometimes fall flat. I must admit I had a lot of fun watching this. I was smiling like a little kid again by the end, so in my eyes it did hit the spot to please me as a fan of He-Man from many years ago. I know it's going to divide the fanbase who may want a serious take on the franchise and have it be less jokey in places, but I can imagine it's very tough to strike the right tone with taking what is seen as a silly cartoon show from the 80s that was designed to sell toys and bring it to life with a modern twist, and what you take from the show and how you adapt it can be very difficult. There had been many attempts before to bring He-Man back to the big screen, and I can guess they all struggled with how to approach it, and I think Travis Knight, having handled a Transformers movie, knew the direction he wanted to go, and I think he did it successfully for the most part. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell to be notified of my latest reviews. Big thanks to my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. If you want to get involved and gain access to exclusive videos and take part in Q&As, follow the link below.